Well, good morning, Dave.
Good morning, AJ.
Just sat down.
Just sat down.
Just to start this podcast.
Just for this?
Yeah. So why don't you catch us up? What's the latest in the direct mail marketing world?
So I think with my humble two pennies, I think that digital advertising has gotten a lot easier over the past 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And to the point of being commoditized where a business owner, especially a new business owner, can almost do as well for themselves as if they hired someone internally, hired an agency. I think what's really cool with not just direct mail, but any type of like traditional, more guerrilla marketing right now, I would rather, if I was a business owner, get my brand in front of less people more times than doing more of like a shotgun marketing approach. And I think that without making this a dope marketing commercial, with what we're doing, really getting like granular in neighborhoods you're working in. Maybe you did a bunch of jobs last year. You want to reactivate a neighborhood, new home buyers, people with houses over $1 million. That targeting has become a lot more difficult in digital marketing, and with traditional marketing, it's actually become easier.
Yeah. And so if you were just jumping right into a brand new roofing business and you're responsible for the marketing, what would that mix look like between the digital? Because the digital is still important, right? You can't ignore it.
100%.
But what's that mix look like for you if you were in charge of their marketing?
If I was in charge of the marketing of a roofing company, I would really be looking at like, where were we previously working? Obviously, you got a storm, you got a previous date or something like that. You have a bit of a guidance. I am a huge proponent of just the down and dirty, simple stuff. Like if I can buy 100 yard signs for $500 or less, and you really, what's a business owner's favorite acronym? ROI. Where's my ROI? The less money you can spend to get more impressions is where I would be kind of looking. Now, loaded question, because am I a brand new roofing company that just started? Have I been open 5 years? Have I been open 20 years? It's a bit of a different dance. But I think as we go into 2026, just really getting back to grassroots and asking yourself as a sales manager, as an owner, as a marketing manager, like, what can we reflect on from last year that was working? And trying to hold ourselves accountable in this age of AI and technology, and everyone else is growing in all these crazy ways we never heard of. Yeah. Really staying tried and true of going back to like, what did we do last year that really worked? And before we try to start something new, how can we do more of that? Not always the most sexy thing, not always the most fun thing, but the most duplicatable and usually the most successful thing.
Yeah. I feel like this plays a little bit into something I've heard you talk about before, which is the hustle versus the systems.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this plays into that, right? It's like a system is looking at what's worked and how can you repeat it over and over and over again versus just constantly chasing that like new thing.
I was just talking with a buddy of mine about this the other day. Like, we have chapters in business, we have chapters in life. Like, what's our focus? How fast are we going? What are our goals? And I think like the grind is it's fun for a lot of us founders. Like, it fills our cup. Like I call it a lot of times, like without getting too like spiritual or whatever, like a God-sized hole. You're trying to chase something in your business, in your life that probably doesn't really have like an amount of mass that can fill it. And a lot of times that hustling, grinding, getting after it, like that fills that gap for us until it doesn't. Until you realize that like you're actually as an owner or a manager involved in so many of the processes in the business because they were actually fueled by that grind versus like taking a step back and looking at, and again, this is dependent on the chapter of business or life that you're in. But for me right now, I'm like, how do we look at the things that have or don't have a process to them? So like an example, look at your org chart. Does every single seat in your business have documentation of what it would take to hire someone in that seat tomorrow? But then take it further. If you go to a customer journey, like marketing to sales to scheduling to onboarding to payment, do you have documentation of how those things are handed over to each team? So when you think of like, one of, I won't say the oldest systems, but one of the most successful systems was like Henry Ford's assembly line of making the automobile. Can you look at your business and say like, we know how to hire this person, we know how to train this person, we have 3 to 5 things that this person knows that like this is their role in the business, because this is where it gets really exciting. Now where you go to technology is like with where AI is going now, the businesses that have those type of things documented have a better opportunity to identify opportunities for automation and scale, where the businesses that don't might be fueled on grind mode. I mean, how many times have you seen a roofing company pop up in Dallas, Denver, Florida, somewhere, and they go to 20 million in 2 years, and you're like, this thing is ran on Adderall lifted trucks and Aquadigio cologne. Like, there's not a lot of substance here.
Yeah.
But it's like that grind can get you so far. I think in the roofing industry, for the good and the bad, that's why you see some of these very like sales driven companies with a very charismatic leader that can like get there in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But I remember when we got in the roofing company or the roofing industry at Dope like 6 years ago, when you looked at that Mount Rushmore, those companies that were back at Win the Storm in those days or whatever.
Yeah.
Less than half of them are actually around now.
Right.
And I think that goes to the tried and true statement of like the systems and processes make the business. The grind can make the money, especially the top line revenue. Yeah. Your systems will bring the profit home with that bottom line revenue that I think business owners should pay a little more attention to.
And maintain the lifetime, like the stability of the business. Like make sure that you're not getting into place.
But if you put yourself in the seat of that grinder, because I've been there before.
Same.
That's not really what you're looking at. Like, am I running a really successful, profitable business? You're like, am I getting the after it? And this is really fun. And so I think like
chasing the dopamine.
Well, and being tried and true to like what chapter in life are you in? If you're, take the age out of it, but I'll make the example is like if you're 25 to 32 years old, maybe you're in a serious relationship or you're not married yet, you don't have kids, like your life, what you're responsible for, those hours are a little bit different. Like I just turned 40. I have 5 kids. My life is a little bit different than when I was 25 starting my first company. Yeah. And so just like the accountability of understanding what are your goals? Like the reason I was in business when I was 25 is much different than why I wake up and why I do what I do today.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How you're touching on automation just recently. How is AI affecting your business and how direct mail works?
Let's just be clear. Like me trying to be a self-accountable guy, like I couldn't spell AI at the end of 2024. Like no exposure was just like, that's a wormhole. It's a distraction. It's something that I hadn't given myself permission to spend time on. When you realize, and we were talking about this morning at the gym, like AI is not a replacement for Google. It's not for searching. It's not for obtaining knowledge about a topic.
It's not only that. I mean, it
Fair.
can be that, but it should be so much more.
I think you're keeping yourself as a limited level as a business owner if you're only using Chat or Claude or Grok or whatever to like look things up versus like using it therapeutically. And I think for any business owner that's not super familiar, like getting into AI yet or isn't using it on any basis of where they feel like they're more than if they had to rank themselves a 1 or a 2, I think what happens with, at least for me, with artificial intelligence, when I learned how to use AI a little bit more like therapeutically as a business owner, not necessarily asking it for answers, but asking it to guide me through my thoughts and get the responses or the information back about my questions of all the information out there. Yeah. When I started talking to AI about my companies or some of the companies that I consult, it would allow me to identify opportunities for things that maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, plus whatever, couldn't necessarily be automated. I think some of those opportunities exist a lot more right now and in the future than they did very recently.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. So you're just sitting down, you're giving it lots of context and then seeing what it comes back with.
I have it interview me. Yeah, it's like it's a tool that I have a relationship with. Yeah. I used this example the other day. Like if you take a professional wood craft, I got a buddy that makes like amazing things out of wood, like those tables that are pouring the epoxy in them, and he's doing all types of cool stuff. If you hand him a block of wood and a chainsaw, he's going to come up with something beautiful. If you hand me a block of wood and a chainsaw, I'm going to come back to you with like an emergency room bill and an explanation of why it didn't go that great. And I think when you approach AI more like a tool and how you develop the skills of using that tool is the back and forth. If I had never logged into Claude before in my life, the first thing I would do is like, hey, I'm Dave. I'm the owner and founder of Dope Marketing. We've been open this long. We do this much revenue. Here's the people that work for me. Can you ask me more questions to get to know me better so I can use you as a tool, as a business owner, as a founder? Yeah. What do you need to know about me so you can give me strategic advice on sales or marketing or operations?
Yeah.
When you take the approach more not asking it for answers, but giving it information to let it guide you, that was one of like the big aha moments for me with AI. And then to your question, like, all right, I'm a business, I own a roofing company, or I own a home service business. How do I identify opportunities for automation? Like I would ask Claude that and be like, ask me the questions that you need to give me back some answers as I'm kind of a novice at this. And so like being a little bit vulnerable with it and just letting it kind of guide you more like almost like a therapist.
It can teach you how to use it.
We were literally troubleshooting microphones on before this. I mean, like what I don't think people totally fully grasp or understand is that it's just all the knowledge of every expert advice or piece of information. When you think about like back in grade school, before even the internet, you had to like get encyclopedias, or if you have any like lawyers in your family or people in the legal industry, all those books sitting behind them in their law office or whatever, like all of that is at your fingertips right now. Yeah. A buddy of mine, I was telling this story the other day. A buddy of mine is one of the, he got voted like best patent attorney in the country 2 years in a row. My boy Stan out of LA. I was asking Stan how he uses Claude, and he was giving me the example. He's like, all these years, Stan's over 60. And he's like, all these years, all this book, all this stuff. It's not like that knowledge isn't good. It's not like I'm still an expert, but the dozens of hours it used to take to put briefs together can all be cited and compiled like much more quickly. Sure, yeah. And so like thinking about that example for anyone watching or listening, and like how could that apply to the knowledge or expertise that you either have or that you've hired for or that you're trying to hire for, and just get a little exploratory with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
This is a crazy new world where it's not like what is valuable as a human to know or understand or do is just not the same as it was before AI. So how are you approaching educating your kids to succeed in this world?
I teach them how to do their homework with AI. Like as positive or as negative as that is, I've actually put posts up about this online, but like my 13-year-old is her first year of homeschooling was last year, and we ended up getting her a tutor. So it's a little bit more of like a private education, but we're still on one of the homeschooling platforms, and just incorporating like ways to use the tools to do research. That's my 13-year-old. My 10-year-old and my 5-year-old, they go to something called Code Ninjas. It's like back when I was younger, our parents would drop us off as like Club Kid or something when my parents were divorced. So my mom was waiting for dad to pick us up, and they'd take us to this kind of like, it'd be in a strip mall, like Club Kid.
Right.
Well, Code Ninjas is like the same thing, except they're not letting you play with Legos. They're teaching you JavaScript.
Yeah. And
I think that the foundational building blocks of what it is to be a business owner, what it is to be an entrepreneur, but also like what is it to be an employee. We had a finance guy with us, amazing guy, just parted ways with the company a couple weeks ago. He was making 6 figures a year. There's something in the finance industry called data rails right now that's been, I don't know if it's been out 6 months or a year or whatever. And as we were offboarding this guy, great human, provided a ton of value to the business. I just had the foresight as a CEO, like, man, I got bad news. Like, your role of being a financial analyst is one of these jobs that is going to be very quickly automated. So I think having sight on, you see these companies, Salesforce, or that Jack Dorsey guy just laid off a bunch of people from that company, one of the Twitter founders. He's not with Twitter anymore, but whatever company he's with, Square, I think it was.
Yeah.
Some of the, like as a business owner, it's your responsibility, in my opinion, to like keep up with best practices. And I think that when you look at some of these larger businesses getting into some of these layoffs, I was talking to the Uber driver about this yesterday, is like, it shouldn't be this fear-based thing that AI is taking all the jobs. I think it should be looked at a little differently of like, it's still going to be a while till a lot of business owners catch up with this. We have, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 48 months plus
It's gonna take
until
time.
I think I was looking up a stat the other day that there's like 15 million businesses active in the United States, and I think it was 70% of those are owned by people over 50 years old.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about like what does AI implementation look like, how many people do you know over 50 that are like applying this stuff in their company? It's a very low percentage. I'd say less than 10%.
And those that are, there was a study last year for 2025 that, and it was saying 95% of the attempts to implement AI had not been ROI positive. And that was in 2025. So it's going to take time to not just implement it, but then also figure out the right way to implement it. Because I don't think that trend will, I think the ROI, I think that's going to be more, maybe more like 50-50 in 2026, but it is going to take some time.
It's hard to think about, and I'll tie this together with the question with the kids is like, it's still the wild, wild west right now.
Yeah.
Like the idea of what does it look like to implement AI or like identify opportunities to do that. There's softwares, there's technologies where that money spent, you are adding AI to your business, not hiring an AI consultant, but bolting on tools and features and consultants that can like put the pieces together.
Yeah.
I think what's important right now, we ended up hiring this really smart young individual on a contract last year. He was actually from Atlanta, from where we're at right now. He was a very talented young engineer that had won a bunch of competitions, really smart, Mensa level IQ, like that type of stuff. The problem was, and this is the problem with engineering right now, it's no longer being a senior engineer. You have to have a level of business acumen right now to be contributing, in my opinion, to a company as an engineer. Because the code, you can get a lot further with that right now from like I wrote 160,000 lines of code 1 week. We were talking about this morning. Yeah. It's insanity. But who the hell can read 160 lines of code by a dude that just figured out how to do this? We're not pushing that to our production environment. No. But when I think it's easier right now to kind of get tricked too. In what is an engineer producing, what are they putting out. And so when my oldest is 13, I believe 1 out of my 5 kids, hopefully 2, will be some level of an engineer, because I think the world is going to need that in the very near future. But I think for my kids, the path that I'll take them down, for anyone that wants to go in that direction, is more like not just how to be a good React, Rails, Node.js, whatever developer, engineer. I think it's much more understanding the level of business acumen where they can contribute to a company by having the brains. Like every good product manager right now, for roofers, it's your production manager, like the person running the show.
Yeah.
A product manager in the engineering space should be learning best practices of being able to write code right now with best practices. Yeah. Because that job is going to change. And I could see one of my kids going into that field.
You have to focus on outcomes. I mean, this is the way that we've structured our engineering team, and I think we were fortunate to have the timing lined up where we had not yet built this massive engineering team, because it's really tough to take these larger teams and reorient them in this direction. But our team was already so outcome focused that it's just really fit in quite nicely. But you have to be focused on what are we trying to achieve and getting there as fast as possible. If you're getting romantic about writing the code, that's not needed anymore.
And tie that back to a roofing business, where it's like some of the things that you've focused a lot of time on in your company historically are just going to be easier to take the human out of. Or let's we were talking about this morning too. Like we had, I think it was 8 or 9 people on our customer service team last summer. We have with technology figured out how to have 2 people do that same level of work with a knowledge base of frequently asked questions, common support tickets, what do people need from us, and putting that into a knowledge base to at least like not have so much of the one-to-one interactions, but be able to create hand raisers in the customer support process. And so when you think about that for your roofing or your home service business, or identifying opportunities with technology, it's kind of like, how well does everyone in your company understand your process, your job flow, your customer journey, your workflow? Because I think right now, one thing that a lot of companies aren't doing that they should be focused on is it's almost a third of the way through 2026 as we sit here and record this today. figuring out who the AI champion is in your business. And this isn't someone that you're like is a tech savvy engineer necessarily.
Not necessarily.
This is the person bringing you like their chat GPT output that they were talking to, just someone that's curious, someone that's interested, someone that's spending time inside or outside of work, just gaining that knowledge, because the skill sets to be learning AI, for anyone that's done Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths, DISC analysis, like any of the personality assessments through the hiring process, there are traits that are identifiable right now that show that someone would be a little more apt to just picking up what has to go into the type of thinking to learn the basis of using AI. Yeah. If I was a roofing company right now, I'd be super focused on finding an AI champion and then having really clean data in my CRM.
Yeah, cleaning up the data so that the AI has something to work with.
Amen.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I wouldn't necessarily call it an AI champion. It's just like you do have to have somebody that's comfortable with this, with technology in general, and AI, of course, is a huge part of that. But it's also like you're talking about clean CRM. They need to be able to own that CRM. They need to be able to own the other software that you use. And so having somebody in the business that owns that is so critical. I think we've been seeing more companies struggle where they don't have anyone like that, and it's like they're kind of hoping that it just all gets easy enough that they don't have to have. And I'm like, it's an interesting time, because like the AI makes it easier, but it also at the same time is still something that you have to be curious and open and learn. So it's sort of a catch-22.
When I think about an AI champion, when I talk about that, is more like someone that you can nominate in your business that can like head up the projects that identify themselves. So if you have 5 people in your organization, or 20 people in your organization, or 50 plus people, or whatever it is, my advice when I talk about the AI champion is like someone that can at least head up or captain the research that goes into the projects, even before you build them, like that knows the business intimately or well enough, that is at least interested enough in this stuff. Because what I will promise you, for any company watching or listening this, you are going to have a project come up where you feel or know or are told that you could implement some AI technology into your company before the end of this year. And when I talk about the AI champion, it's like the person that your buddy's good at AI, so you're getting them on a call with them. The course that you find online, like all these schools are doing it now. Harvard Business School, Yale, all these online, like big schools for a couple grand. You could invest in an employee to have them understand at least the framework, the foundation to be dangerous enough to use this stuff. When I talk about that AI champion, it's like giving yourself permission as a business owner to expand someone's role to where you're just going to invest in them learning this a little bit more, because the project is coming. Like someone is going to identify something in your job process, your workflow, your supplementing, your invoicing, or whatever it is, customer service, where not having the owner need to be the one that does that. The owner's going to paint the room before they hire the painter. But I think having an individual that can at least like be invested in from the training side, so when that project arises, like you have somewhere to put it, you're not figuring it out when you realize you have the project.
Already having someone lined up. Do you think that coincides usually with some other existing role that's typical in roofing businesses right now? Like, do you think it should be the office manager?
Oh, because I think I would not make this. I know roofers are a lot of the audience here, but I wouldn't segment this to roofers. We're not all special, pretty little snowflakes that our third grade teacher told us we were. Like, our business is actually more relative. I think what you're doing is in your next team meeting or in your Slack channels or wherever you communicate, in your one-on-ones, just like, who's interested in AI? Or ask your employees, like, how are you using AI, not even just in work, but in life? That'll create the hand raisers that now you have a bucket. Now you go into, these people, they work for you. Who is it? I don't care, though, if it's a salesperson, a supplementing person, a customer service, an office person. To me, that doesn't matter at all. I think it's more about you identify with the hand raiser. Because, like, I got asked the other day what I think the strongest characteristic or quality is when I'm looking to interview someone to work for our business. Doesn't matter what the role is. It was an easy answer. It's curiosity. I want someone who's curious, because now I can invest in them. I can spend time. They want knowledge. They want to learn, so I can do it. And now it's like, I think for nominating any AI champion or whatever you want to call it, you're starting with that curiosity. Who is eager to learn more, so then you could invest in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. What let's kind of head back to the marketing side here. What is there any new innovation on the marketing side? It can be AI, it can be anything that on the direct mail specifically.
Yeah.
That's sort of on the leading edge here that people should be looking to apply.
Yeah, there's a couple things. Couple things that I think if anyone pays attention to anything or just wants to grow their business, this would be that part of it. Yeah. Technology has advanced a ton. So the average roofing business owner's website, only 4% of people that visit your website fill out a form. There's technology now where you can install a little piece of code. We can do it for you. You can show you how to do it yourself, where you can identify your service area, like the zip codes. Yeah. And we can identify, like right now it's 30 to 40%, that number's going up, of the physical addresses of the people that visit your website. So just like when you go on Instagram and you look at the running shoes and you don't buy them and they follow you around, the strategy we set up is 4 to 6 postcards over like 2 to 3 weeks. So if someone visits AJ's Roofing, the mail will trigger the next day, whether they bought or not. You get on like a 6 postcard drip cycle over a couple weeks. Yeah. So outside of, hopefully businesses are running retargeting ads online, and that's been around for a while.
There's other things to do too. But
yeah, we can do that in your mailbox. Like how slick would you feel if you came to Dope Marketing's website, didn't do anything, and now like you're getting postcards like, oh, this company's kind of slick, they get it. Yeah. So that's been rolled out, and then with that same technology, identifying like IP addresses and unmasking them. What we've also been able to do is with open search on the internet, we can identify people searching for certain services
and
find their address and proactively. It's the same thing as the Facebook algorithm. You notice now, like when you look at something online, you start seeing ads for that. That's further than the like, hey, I was talking about this and it's creepy and Facebook's looking, but it's kind of that same type of technology. Yeah. But your search stuff is a little more open than you think it is. And so you can identify people searching for certain things in a certain service area and start automating direct mail to them. And what's really cool with that, an audience is created from that. So you can upload that to social too. We provide that.
And then you can start, so you can be layering on the digital on top.
And that's what's really important. I mean, all the targeting data from Facebook, from Instagram, from TikTok, from LinkedIn, all that came from direct mail brokers in the 80s. Like the back end of that. Oh yeah, all of it.
I mean, built on top of that. Yeah.
All of it. It's all, this is one of the funny things, people always want to be like, I want to target people by their income. Well, like, AJ, is your W-2 a public thing? It's all modeled.
That data's not.
No, it's based on like where you live, how long you've owned your house, what year your house was built, how old you are. It's all just guesses, like educated guesses, but it's guesses. And so like, I like life event data. Like one really cool thing we're doing at Dope is new home buyer data. Yeah. So you can put in, hey, I service a 10-mile radius of Buckhead or whatever. There's 20 zip codes. We can put you on a weekly feed of everyone that buys a home, but not only any home. You can be like, I only want homes over $700,000. I don't want the people that can't afford.
That's public data. So that's accurate.
Yeah. Very, very, very. How much the whole house was sold for, who bought the house, when they bought it, when they moved in, like all that's public. Yeah. But not only do we have an automated feed of that, you can retroactively go back. So let's say like you're in a seasonal market and you don't advertise a ton October, November, December, and January. You can go into your Dope account now and say, I want to pull every house in these zip codes that were sold over the past 90 days over $1 million. And so think about putting in like your storm areas, your hot neighborhoods where you had some good retail pockets. It's all an overlay, all of it. Yeah.
So you're like new home buyers that also are in these swaths. Yeah.
They don't know about you yet.
Right.
So like the average American is going to live in their house for 7 to 12 years. And if AJ lives at 123 Main Street and Dave and his family move into 125 Main Street, I'm going to spend $8,000 to $15,000 in cash, more than you and your family in the next 90 days on all the services that I don't know about. That's another really cool thing. It plays into roofing if you offer some other services. Yeah. We have a thing called Mover Match. So like you have all these addresses in your CRM, right? In ProLine, I got all these addresses of people that I've done work for. Do you think when I move, I'm going to call the roofing company and let them know, like, hey, I'm moving. Sorry, guys, never going to use you again. We can identify with that new mover feed the addresses in your database. You can set up a separate automation. Like, hey, we did an estimate at your house before and you didn't get a new roof. Or, hey, we did your gutters, but you didn't do this. We're the company of choice at your home. We already have pricing or in your neighborhood. So mover match kind of expands the new home buyer stuff.
So you're getting the new data from the person moving in.
And then we match it with their CRM data that we're connected to.
Yeah.
And now a different automation goes out. If a house in your CRM is sold, that can create a different trigger than just the new mover feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love the going deep, like going pinpointing. It's the ROI, like you're talking about. That's how you get ROI. It's like, don't waste money on people that aren't.
Why would I want to send out like 50,000 postcards one time in the spring? Because that's what some dude I saw on Facebook do.
Yeah.
If I could look at like let's say the last 25 jobs I did, I could upload those into a piece of software and automatically send postcards to the nearest 50 neighbors of my last 25 jobs. Like that's the type of stuff that we focus on. And I don't want to see you send it once. I want to see you send it 8 times.
Yeah.
Let's just say a postcard's $1 where it's out. It's a little bit cheaper.
Right.
But like if you could spend, let's say you have neighborhood A, you're running Facebook ads, running Googles, knocking doors, shaking hands, kissing babies, saving cats from trees, and you're successful, right? Like you've done this. Neighborhood A, that's all you're doing. Neighborhood B, you're doing that, but for 3 months in a row, every other week you're sending a postcard. Which neighborhood's going to get a higher conversion? Well, I have the data. It's neighborhood B every single time.
Yeah.
But it's not taking like, oh, I got to take from my Google budget. I got to do this. I look at like if a postcard's $1 and I could spend $4, $6, $8 on a home, dude, what's a Google conversion for roofing costing these days? $300 to $500?
So much.
I'd rather spend $8 a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And like in the right areas, in the right neighborhoods, in the places where I've already done work. And again, like that's where we try to get really granular. It breaks my heart when I see people sign up for our software. They go, all right, I took a month to go through onboarding and my designs and my stuff. I sent out one blast. It didn't work. I'm like, dude, I bet it didn't. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. I think it's our responsibility as a marketing company to lay out expectations of what success looks like. Because I would rather see a company spend $1,000 a month with us 12 months out of the year than $12,000 one time and say something didn't work.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. I mean, you got to plan for the hitting people multiple times. It takes time for people to even recognize.
Dude, are we dating? Are we growing a plant? Are we losing weight? Like which one do you want to go? Yeah. None of it's overnight. If it's bad, it's probably killing you. And so it's like looking at, I don't want to do the standard like, oh, it takes time and spend more money. It'll all be better. But it's like, you guys just be a little fucking patient. Like just
patient,
just
but focused. You don't need to be patient across your entire market.
No. Let's be very focused in the right neighborhoods that we already have data in, and let's set a budget to stay consistent and not do reactional decisions when payroll's coming up or something else has happened. Again, it's like I understand to the depths of being a reactive business owner, but I also, as I've gotten older or I've been around more people that are successful, they just set out more of a plan that has time than reactively trying everything and then cutting things off that don't work when you're kind of acting off of emotions versus data.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So you've talked before about your background. So you've come over the last, say, 20 years. Yes. A lot has changed in your life.
A lot.
Why don't you walk us through what I'd really like to know is kind of like, what are the biggest mental shifts you've gone through? Or maybe what's the biggest mental shift between 20 years ago to today? What's like the biggest difference mentally for you as a business owner? Or really just in life?
I think realizing that like if everyone operated the way I did, the world would be a pretty place. And I didn't used to think that. I used to be like, oh, people need to do this more. It has to go this direction, or everyone should be moving fast. I think that I've been talking a lot lately about like chapters of life. And I think one thing I've learned, especially with growing Dope, a business that's like gotten to this point in a relatively short amount of time, being a little bit more comfortable getting out of my own way. We were talking about this morning at coffee, was like, I as a founder and a business owner, I like things to go my way for a couple reasons. One, if something goes right, I don't need a lot of praise. If something goes wrong, I can take responsibility versus trying to figure out why someone else didn't understand something or the pain that goes along with it. Or was it explained right? Or did their cat look at them wrong? Or what? Like all the mental navigating, I think for me, I'm a much better leader than I am a manager. And I've learned that about myself, like in the day-to-day operations of a business. It's one thing to say like, hire smart people and get out of your own way. But like if we hold ourselves accountable, like how much are we really doing that? I think to have control is to give up all control. And what that means is you're communicating enough to set expectations by the people that you employ to execute on your vision. But you got to get a little bit more comfortable about shit going wrong. Like the reason that the founders, the owners, the startup people, the whatever title you're in at your company, you're one of the people that started it. One of the reasons that you get to reap the benefits is you have to deal with the problems all day. And I think for me, I don't do well when I'm constantly getting shown what's wrong all the time. I get really distracted. I get into fixer mode. And like what I learned is that kept my business, my life, my relationships like in a certain place when I didn't even realize that like I was the contributing factor to that. And so when I look back on whether it's, you know, I've gotten into some consulting over the past year and a half with some of these private equity companies. And it's like, if I could go back to being, I started my first business when I was 25. And if we look at years in 5-year blocks, 25, 30, 35, and now I'm 40. The advice I would give to someone starting out more is like, just be a little bit more open to getting out of your own way. Because when you have your hands on things too much, they become dependent on you. And a business that's dependent on the owner for every decision, every system, every process, or like, well, if I'm involved in it's so much better. Well, how much better would it be if you weren't involved and it worked 70% as good as it did as you were involved? Because that extra 30%, a lot of times, it's about our feelings as the owner of like, we feel that something went right. The customer experience isn't different. The communication isn't different. The end result really isn't that much different. And if I learned anything, it's like the more that I'm pointing shit out that's wrong, being a slack sniper, getting in the way, I'm stopping. Oh yeah, I'm great at that. It's like I'm stopping the business. I realized me wanting to be overly involved in certain things was stopping the business from growing. Like I was putting a dam in the river and I didn't even realize that I was a fucking beaver, like getting everything in the way naturally, because that's what comes naturally to me. What does a beaver see when it sees a river? It's like, I'm going to block that shit up. Like that's what I was doing, but I wasn't even conscious of it. I thought I was helping. I thought I was fixing. I thought I was leading. I thought everyone wanted to listen to me sit in a room, talk for half an hour or an hour straight because I was explaining myself and repeating myself and sharing my vision when everyone's like, dude, can we get back to work, Dave? Like, we know what to do. Can you just get out of the way? And I think being open enough or self-aware enough about what I'm good at, what I like doing, what I'm not good at, and what I don't like doing, and just owning that, being a little bit more comfortable with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. What do you think the worst advice that owners are currently getting, like that you've heard?
Build to sell. I think that over the past, so I've been in the home service space for 16 years. I still own a general contracting company in Minneapolis. I think that what happened over the past, you know, the private equity has been in HVAC, plumbing, and electric a lot longer than it's been in roofing. Not that it was not existent, but the model that is kind of rolling out that we see was established in those industries. Yeah. And they're very different. And when you are taking advice from people as an owner, when you're taking advice from people you see on stage that have been running a $7 million, $10 million, $15, $20+ million company for multiple years, and they're sharing the things that they're going through and how they're setting up to sell and talking to PE and doing these things, that's not where you're at right now. You're doing $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. And it's not that those lessons aren't there to learn from, but from what I saw, a lot of the advice coming out was missing the gap of what's important. You can't fix the problems of a $10 million company when you're doing $1 million in revenue a year. Your issues are very different. There's not only are there more zeros, but there's more people involved. There's more processes in place. There's more going on. It's easier to set a foundation with a small company, but the things those people learned along the way and they're applying now, I didn't see a lot of that advice coming out. And so I think that this dream of, building your company and selling it to private equity, I got terrible news. Like 85% of your companies aren't ready to do that. When you start getting into these engagements, the year that it takes of this colonoscopy of your business and the things they're going to find, I didn't hear a lot of messaging about like getting your shit together before you start picking up the phone and talking to PE because you're exhausted in November or something.
Yeah.
And I think that people are only buying businesses that are profitable and purchasable. And not that everyone out there isn't running that or a version of it, but I'll tell you what, I'm talking to more of my buddies right now that sold to PE over the past 2-3 years that are about to buy that shit back for 20-30 cents on the dollar right now. Then people lining up. Not that there's not amazing private equity companies, amazing brokers, amazing advice going out there. I think it was made to look a little bit easier than it is. And again, to have control is to give up control. Are you in a spot in your life right now where you're willing to take a check from someone and be told what to do all day? Because I'm not.
That's what essentially it is, too. It's not like they're not letting the owners walk away. Yeah. Like the owners, they still need the owners to stick around.
No, they have a job now. And they're probably the most unemployable people in the fucking world. Yeah. Like it's me too. Like worst employee ever in the history of employment. But it's like, I don't think that, the best advice is the shit we've heard our whole life. The grass is not greener on the other side if you don't know what it's like to mow a lawn yet. Right. Like you have to understand what you're willing to give up to have what you always wanted. Yeah. And I think that if I've learned anything on my journey, owning businesses, doing consulting, whatever, over the past 16 years is like that corny statement about your why. That's all that matters. I used to think that selling a business was successful only over 10 million. Then it was over 50 million. Then it was over 100 million. And then I paid myself $1.5 million for a couple of years in a row. I was like, do you actually need any more than this? Yeah. Like, what are you working towards? What are you trying to do? I'll be honest, and I like nice shit. You don't even need that much. Yeah. But how do you live? How do you operate? What's your life like? What's you and your significant other? Do you have kids? Are you trying to do other things with your life? And I just go back to the grind mode. I think we get stuck so much in what's possible that we don't even look at what we want most of the time. Yeah. And I think if we reflect and we take a step back, like most business owners that I talk to, if you ask them to reflect on, are you closer or further today of where you want to be than you were 5 years ago? 99% of people that I talk to are like, I'm much closer now than when I started to where I want to be. How often do we hold ourselves accountable about like, what am I actually? Everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to make more money. All that is cool until you talk to all the people that did it and they're like, yeah, it really doesn't matter that much. It's
like, I just want to spend time with my kids.
I kind of just want to like be on the beach or surf or go golf or do whatever and be around my kids because they're only this old for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And I think that, the thing that I'm most proud of, the story that I'll never tell, and I promise, grind mode as much as anyone else over the past 16 years is like, I will never have a regret in my life about the time that I didn't spend with my kids because I'm around. I'm a present dad. And like, I think that if you can go back to like, why did you start your business? Oh, I didn't like my job, or I wanted more time, or I wanted to make more money, or I worked somewhere and I thought I could do it better. It's all relative. That's why you're not as special of a snowflake as your third grade teacher told you, because we all kind of did this for the same reason. Yeah. But it's like, how accountable do you actually hold yourself for what you really want? Not what's possible, not what's out there, not what someone else is doing, but like, I'm setting a goal that if I ran a business with systems that spat out this much money at the end, maybe we could get it to a point where I didn't have to work 80 hours a week to do this. Yeah. Maybe we could get to a point where like I'm actually able to take consistent money out of this thing that's predictable because I can look at the thing. It's not about the next sale or the big deal or can we do this? We've all lived versions of it. Yeah. But I think what we don't do enough is like, what am I actually trying to do? Because for me, it was a lot less than what I thought at the beginning.
Yeah, once you actually mapped it out. The wild thing, I love the analogy of like the grass is not greener until you learn to mow the lawn. It's a fantastic line. But the irony is that you build that kind of business that you can pay yourself, it's profitable, and you can pay yourself the life that you want.
Yeah.
That is also the number one business that the PE firms all want to buy. They don't want to buy the company that's
but they
been
won't tell you
packaged
that.
up.
Like,
No,
that's not the.
Yeah, that's not what they would
sorry.
tell you.
Yeah.
They won't tell you that. But that's they don't want to. They actually don't really want to buy the business that's been packaged up to try to look good for them.
They'll tear that apart. They know what to look for there.
Yeah.
If you come in and you're just like, look, I run a business. We sell this. It costs this much. We make this much profit, and I've done it for a while. Like 3x, 5x, 7x multiplier off of EBITDA all day, any industry, any vertical, doesn't matter. I think that's where, like, look, a lot of us didn't go to Harvard, or we don't have an MBA. We know how to, like, go make shit work or run systems or go sell things. Yeah. And, like, that's what's attractive as an owner. A lot of these startups, we talked about valuations in SaaS or roofing companies. Yeah, they're looking for a solid business, but they're also looking for an individual that they can invest in, that they can guide, to take a tried and true system, to invest capital into, to just make a duplicatable process, which is I buy for $1, I sell for $2, and this shit works more than it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that gets ignored in, you know, some of the, my little brother's 37 years old. He just sold his, they're in youth sports, and he just sold his company to Jason Kidd's private equity company for like $40 million in the past 6 months. It's public. It's called Prep Network. I'm talking to my little brother, and I'm like, all right, dude, congrats, Nick. Like, you got the check, you got the thing, you did the whatever. What are you doing? He's like, going to work.
Yeah, isn't that?
He owns a smaller percentage of his company now. He has a job that he's really good at. He got enough money to buy some land, buy a house. He's got his 6th kid on the way. Apparently it's in the water in the Carroll household or something. But like, he's doing the stuff you do. He's 37. He would be every definition of successful. It's Thursday. My brother's at the office.
He's still going to work at the end of the day.
I think what gets modeled in the home service base, my boy Tommy Mello was one of the first people to really, really, really do it big with the private equity and the deal and putting that together, and is one of the models I still believe to this day of like success, of building a business that's very structured, that can go command a high multiplier, good revenue, like put it together. You know what Tommy's doing right now? He's working in that business today.
Yeah, he's not.
I think what I saw happen in the roofing space is like, you're going to ride off into the sunset. That's not it.
That's not the
You
reality.
got a job now. And that's fine. Like, you got a job and probably more financial security than you had previously. I just don't see a lot of people or a lot of conversations publicly about like, what are you working through mentally to get to that decision? It's kind of all looks really good. And not saying that there are not a ton of great deals that happen or out there, but I've heard of a lot of bad ones, more than I've heard of good ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you because you guys also work with other home services outside of roofing, right? So, have you seen a difference between the success of PE and these other verticals that they've been in longer versus in roofing so far?
I think that if I owned a private equity company, I would be approaching it a little bit differently. I think that companies are getting bought in these spaces. If I was in an industry that had repeat kind of foot in the door, low ticket services, developing a relationship with your customer base so that you could sell them other things. I'll continue to share about this as we're doing it more, but like, I've owned an exterior cleaning and maintenance company for 16 years. We got our GC license 2 years ago. I'm super not involved in it. My wife and my brother-in-law run the whole thing, but all we're doing is going back to our customer database that we've had for 15, 16 years and being like, do you have anything in your house that isn't bolted down that needs fixing? Because we're here for all of it. And I think that, you know, if I was, let's say, I've been asked this a couple times, regardless of the industry, if I was going to go start another home service business tomorrow, what would I do? It would be like lawn care, gutter cleaning, you know, something very
low ticket in the door.
Low ticket in the door,
Leverage
easy advertising, easy, like good profit margins, and build a customer base, and then have high ticket items that I can subcontract or sell myself. Like that. Yeah. That's a PE model that they would buy in 1 to 3 years at a nice multiplier real quick. I might know a guy that's working on that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's very, as long as you have the processes. Business is simple. Find something, find a problem, train or have a solution, make it profitable and have some systems. And then, like, I had a guy tell me the other day, buddy of mine, Rob, who does a lot of like consulting and mentoring for my companies. It's like, Dave, it's just as easy to do 10 million as it is to do 100 million. It's just a system. This dude's done this
scaling
9 times.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say every company should get to 100 million and not get to 10. I think that along that path, if you look at, all right, I'm doing 3 million a year right now. I can pull net when it's all said and done. I can pull 10% on. I can pay myself 300 grand after everyone gets paid. Well, now you get to 10 million. Can you model that out where you can still pull $3 million out if you do 10 million? Now, how many people are involved? What would the work to be to get it to 100 million? It's not that you need to do it. Knowing that it's possible is one thing. And that drove me for a very long time. Like, what's possible? What could I achieve? You bleed, you breathe, me too. I wake up early. Let's go work, like whatever. But I think understanding the responsibility of what you're signing up for, because I think it's less than 2.5% of the United States takes home more than $250,000 a year. Like if you're doing that already, you're doing fucking amazing. What would your life be like if that doubled? Now, what are you willing to give up, or what is the work that would go into to make $500,000 instead of 250? Now, is it 4 times more work to make $1 million? And again, I went to 9 high schools. I'm not a math scholar, but like, I think when you look at just that relativity of business, that's kind of that broken record, the message I keep coming back to.
Yeah. You're saying don't get caught up in that, like the moving goalpost.
We're in Atlanta. I think Gucci Man said it best, is don't get lost in the sauce. Like there's so much going on at all times.
Reverse engineer it. Figure out exactly what that outcome is. Reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And the outcome shouldn't be sell the PE. It should be like, what is the actual, what do you need to live the life you're trying to live?
How much money do I need to make to not do what I'm not good at and I don't want to as often as possible?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good mentality. It's a good mentality. What do you think, so for contractors specifically that are they're moving from that 2 to 3 million small team. They're starting to scale. They're starting to bring more people into the business. They're approaching going past the 10 employee mark. What's your biggest lesson learned, or biggest like thing, that mind shift that has to happen for a leader of a company as you start to get that larger team size?
I would go through an exercise of putting on paper, or if you're a computer person, lay out your customer journey. Someone comes in through whatever method of lead gen we do, then they talk to the office or they talk to a salesperson, they make the decision to buy, we got to order some materials, we got to get them shipped there, we got to do the work, then we got to invoice. Every business is like some version of that. I would look at that exercise, and then I would look at my org chart, like the list of people that work for my company, and I would just put their names, where they go, like who's responsible for part of that. Then I would look at what parts of that require me as the owner right now. Like in that, whether it's the job or the transition or the parts that go into the entire experience of your customer, I would be looking at what parts are dependent on me. Where if I left the business, scary exercise, we were talking about this morning too, like if I left the business for a month, what part of the customer journey would break if I couldn't pick my phone up? And like, it's not a bad answer. If it's all of it, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you look at like what parts are dependent on you, and then when you look at like those names that you put on there, what could that person do more or less to make me not involved? Then I would take a step back and do my favorite exercise, which is, as the owner, what am I good at? What do I like doing? What am I not good at? What do I not like doing? And I would try to just look at this objectively, like, okay, I'm really involved in sales, but it's because I kind of like it. In the big jobs, I'm good at it. And yeah, we got a couple good salespeople. We got a couple middle. We got 1 or 2 bad ones. This will go better if I'm involved. Will it? Or will you feel better if you're involved? Because some weird thing that happened twice that like, or 8 out of 10 times does a job actually go fine if you're not involved? You're just kind of overbearing.
Yeah.
Customer support, escalation. You're probably not answering every call or every customer support call. Probably not everyone watching this is doing that. If you are, it's a very hireable position. And I understand that if things get escalated, especially on bigger projects or stuff like that, like there's exceptions around these rules.
Right.
But I don't think as owners we take enough accountability of the things that we're like inherently involved in, because that's how it was before. And everyone's just kind of, like, they might not even know they're waiting, but ask yourself, how many people would be happy if I got out of their way? Like, how many people could actually do the job? I remember it was Gary Vee said this. If you find an employee to do 70% of what you can do, you found an amazing employee.
Yeah.
I completely disagree. Give me 30. Give me 30%.
30 is enough.
Dude, I'm insane. Like, if I can do 100% of the way that I think something should be done, I would be crazier to think that I can hire someone that can do 70% of what I can do. Like, I started this, I know it, I understand it, I built it, I went through it. Look at that process of your customer journey. Why would I need anyone to be able to do 70% of what I can do? How about we hire the right person with the right skill set that can do 30% of what I can do? Because I should probably only be doing 30% of it anyways.
Yeah.
And I think wherever that exercise can objectively work for someone, org chart, customer flow, where you required, who do you have hired? Because then this goes back into that exercise about systems and processes. Like, okay, look at that customer journey. Do these people have it documented of how they do these things? Because that's how you really get yourself out of it. So not to go like too in the clouds with it, but
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You got to map out every single bit. You make a good point. It's like 30%, and 30% should be enough. But also, you can take, if someone can do 30%, chances are, if you then work on the systems and processes around them, that's where you can get it up to the 70%.
Because now you're not doing the work,
or even beyond.
Amen.
But it forces you, as the owner, to take a step back and start working on the systems and processes.
Absolutely.
I always like to call this out, this caveat though, whenever we're talking about this sort of like work on. It's like, it's the cliche, like work on the business,
not in. Sure.
But the thing is, this is different when you're first starting out. Like if you're doing $750,000 in a roofing business, that's not the right time to start hiring a bunch of people for all these people.
No, you should be paying attention to Mark Cuban. Sales solves everything.
You should
like
be.
You got it.
That's the grind right there. There is a grind season of life or season of the business.
You have to hold yourself accountable for what chapter in business you're in.
Yeah.
The stuff we're talking about right now is not for the person that just started 6 months ago. Like, who do I hire? Who's my CFO? What's the thing? Like, no, you'll get stuck in the with that. You have to look at like, what does your business require of you? Because in the first 6 months to 3 years plus, which hat?
Yeah, you're just
it's switching them out.
Yeah.
But I think what I've seen for these very, what I would define as successful business owners, they just realize that shit a little bit sooner. Like one thing that I can credit to anywhere I've gotten in life is I was never scared to hire someone. Your job is to show up and do the work. My job is to not be scared about how I'm going to pay you. So I would like, if I look back in my career, one thing that I could say is down to my cleaning company, my data company, the agency stuff we've done, the consulting, dope, whatever it is, I will literally hire before I know how to pay someone because I'm like, that's your answer the phone so I can go do more of what I'm better at. I never, and I think different personality types.
Yeah.
But for me, I never had a fear of like, how am I going to pay someone? Because I didn't hire someone before I knew that they were going to give me some minutes back. And I think you made a great point of that first 6 months, first 12 months, first 18 months. Like you are probably, if you're 18 months or less into your business, your best salesperson, or else you have a business partner that's better at like whatever it is. But like you have 1,440 minutes during the day. As a business owner, especially a new one, your job is telling as many people as possible that you solve the problem that they either have right now or they might have. And during that, you still got to answer the phone. You still got to run and pick up materials. You still got to do the customer service. You still got to do the other stuff.
Yep.
But if you started a business that has a good enough solution to problems, selling the thing shouldn't be the issue. It's probably like training the people to do the quality of service or the communicate. And this gets into the level of advice we're kind of talking about now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you, Dave. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.